end office. So I'm the guy who's making sure we follow the rules while not driving you all crazy any more than we absolutely have to. So that is the premise for which we began. Excuse me. We go to the next slide. We do anticipate this meeting to be fairly painless, so nobody needs to worry about rushing to take notes or panicking. We will record this. We will send you the link afterward. Excuse me, again. Today, we're going to talk briefly about what's on this list. We'll spend a little more time on the budget piece of things, but this is really just an overview of some challenges that we're seeing in some of what we have, what we need to have in place so we can finalize our final proposal, so we can execute subgrants and we can start getting these projects rolling and the money rolling. Will you go to the next slide? Very quickly, this is not something you see in your SES lists that you got your letters you received on those, but this is something that will come up very soon. We are about to roll into subgrant execution, which means signatures. So if your authorized organizational representative has changed since your AOR, please let us know right away and get us their new contact information or updated contact information. Also, if whoever your AOR is somebody who has an assistant that facilitates getting stuff done and they have to be copied so that this happens, please let us know who that person is and their contact information as well. The subgrants will be sent out to you guys via DocuSign, which is an electronic signature platform. So as efficient as we can make that, the better. So please send us that information. Your cybersecurity plans is next on the agenda. This you're aware of, I believe. We've been talking about this since OA time. We do have to have a copy of your cybersecurity plan, please. So please do upload it. If you don't have one, please pull something together. We have to have this. This is not a NBO thing. This is an NTIA thing. So we can't get around it. If you do not have one, please let us know right away so we can try to figure out what we can do to get around it or fuss with it or work with NTIA or whatever, make things happen. Will you go to the next slide? The same for the supply chain risk management plan. You have to have one. We have to have a copy. If you don't have one, let us know right away, please, so that we can try to figure something out. Will you go to the next? Workforce plan. I realized that the restructuring policy notice published in June removed most of the workforce requirements from feed programming. However, this one is still there and we do have to have it. So your workforce plans showcasing your intent to employ the appropriate workforce. If you have a policy in place, please use it. Please send us a copy of that. If you don't, please draft something. Again, if we have to come up with something that we know we're going to improve down the line, that's fine, but we've got to have something right away before we can execute a subgrant. You can't apply a single plan to multiple projects. This would be an organizational thing, not necessarily a project specific thing, I would think. Include in your signed statement, I would literally copy these sentences and say, we acknowledge NBEAT's program requirements and we attest that we have the means to meet the technical obligations, because that tends to be the kind of thing NTIA likes, is copy exactly word for word and then sign it. Will you go on to the next? Organizational charts. Many of you provided, most of you provided some kind of organizational chart. What we are lacking, if we're still asking you for organizational charts in your SES, is project team org charts. Who's going to do what for the project? Every project requires a chart. If your same team is going to implement multiple projects, that's great. Just tell us which DPAs or CAIs are covered by those. But we do need to know who's actually going to be doing the work on these projects. Next, please. Irrevocable letters of credit. We have to have this prior to subgrant execution. You should, the format, whether it comes from bank, a credit union, whether it's the alternative, the reducible version, etc. Whatever format you chose, whatever option you picked from attachment 3 of the RFA, that's what you should be doing now. We do need an ILOC per project, not one for all projects. So please bear that in mind. It is time for these, actually. We are that close. Milestones. We are required to have subgrantees set milestones that we have to build into the terms and conditions documents, which you guys have seen. And the subgrantees have to be assessed against them. So that's kind of our Gantt chart, our timeline. We are required to define the milestones to set our list, and then you guys set the dates. So we have set this the little graphic just got at the bottom here, different kinds of milestones. We go to the next. And these should be familiar. Oh, sorry, we'll get there on the next slide. They should be familiar. You've seen them before. This is not new. Start with MBO's milestones list, please. If you want to add more, you can. Please, one of the things that we saw was lack of time allowed for NEPA and NHPA stuff. We have been told that if you qualify for categorical exclusion, excuse me, it's probably still going to be 3 to 6 months for the NEPA piece of this project, these projects. If you don't qualify for categorical exclusion, it could be up to a year or more. So please bear that in mind as you're building milestones, as you're setting those dates. Also think about, we're holding you to these. So if you tell me you can have it done by February 1st and you get it done on February 2nd, you've blown your deadline. If you need additional time in there within reason, of course, we don't want to extend these projects any further than we have to, but I want to set everybody up to succeed, right? So if you need a little additional time, if you want to give yourself an extra couple of weeks and an extra month or whatever to get things done, I'd rather have you set the date later and beat it than set it earlier and miss it. Please adjust your project start date. We are on track at this point to begin projects on November 1st. So I know previously we talked about starting with January 1st of next year. Please come back a couple of months on that and set your milestone dates based with a November 1 start date. Will you go to the next? Here are the milestones that are on our list. There are more details in the RFA. So these should be familiar. Again, start with our list, add things as you need to. Go to the next. For LEO-based projects, low Earth orbit satellite projects only, these are, excuse me, we also are required to set subscription milestones. And this is what we have. So these 3 additional, I'm going to read them to you, but please also include these for those LEO-based projects. Next, please. Budgets. Okay, I'm going to pause here before we get into budgets, and I'm going to ask if there are any questions over what I've already covered.
For the letter of credit, if we've been awarded CAIs, do you need one for each CAI, or can we have one letter that addresses all of the CAIs?
You can have one that addresses all CAIs. That's one considered one project.
Okay, thank you.
Any other?
If we had,
go ahead,
Diane, Dr. Lowe, if we had to submit some budget justification information for our letter of credit, should we use that, the awarded amount?
Yes.
Or what are you suggesting we do? Okay.
Yeah, I would go with the adjusted amount.
The awarded amount?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Where did you say that the MBO's list for the timeline, where did you say that was at again?
For the milestones?
Mm-hmm.
That is in the RFA.
Okay.
It's toward the end. You should also, there's a separate handout on our website that's specific to the milestones. So
okay.
That might be an easier grab. You don't have to flip through 40 pages.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm not gonna stop questions on that, but somebody has something that comes up, please jump in. But I am gonna go ahead and move on to budgets. Most of you, because I didn't get them quite all done, but most of you just before this call received an email from me with a short batch of slides specific to your project and your budget and the corrections that are needed. So what I'm going to go over here is not specific to your project, but these are issues that we've seen in general. And they're common enough that we wanted to just talk to everybody about them. So after this call, if you look at the slides we sent to you and you decide, hey, I'm not clear on this, or I've got a question or whatever, please reach out to us. We are happy to connect and talk further. But for now, we're going to go over just the kind of the higher level stuff. I don't want to put anybody on the spot. Although I will say that as I was building screenshots and slides, some of you, oh my gosh, got this and you're good. I wish I could give credit where credit is due there. I'm sorry, but anyway. Budgets, will you go to the next slide? Thank you. So on your budget form, each DPA requires their own budget. If you have a CAI only project, that's one budget for all. Again, that's considered one project. Please give your budget form, your application name, please give it a name so that we're clear which DPA it addresses, especially if you've got multiple projects. If you just put your name on it, I'm lost. So, and we're just using the same abbreviation we used in the PAs and the OA. The PAs, just your DPA number and then subgrantee abbreviation. That is plenty. If you forget what this is supposed to be and it's just the DPA and your name, I don't care. It's fine. If you have CAIs, please do CAI, just subgrantee abbreviation. That's fine. Also on the form, something that we have seen, please list costs in only one category. Even if they might cross categories, and logically they will, we'll talk about that a little bit. They only belong in one place. The budget is cumulative, so if you put it in two places, it adds it twice. We go to the next slide. This is an example, and we will send these slides out after this session if I didn't say that already. So you'll have this. This is an example of the level of depth we need in your budget justifications. And I realize this is not how you guys are used to doing things for a lot of you, and I apologize, it's going to be a little bit painful. I think once it's set up, it'll be pretty easy as we move forward. But I don't want you to write me any books. I don't need huge in-depth analyses of how you came to this specific down to the penny cost. However, I do need enough information to know, yes, this is a legitimate, allowable cost for this project, and I can defend this to NTIA and any auditors who come along. So this is on the salaries and wages piece, kind of what we need. If you do not have a position title here on the left, if you do not know who that person is, that's fine. You don't have to give me names. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I need position title, your titles of your positions. How many people are involved? This might be in this first line here. I've got Patrick here slated in. He's going to work on this project as the accounting manager, which he will not like, but he's doing it anyway. I've got him at just 0.10 FTE. He's only going to spend about 10% of his time on this project. And then the math will work out for you. And then the justification out here to the right, just tell me what he's going to be doing. Tell me about how much time he's going to spend on it and about what he's going to be doing. Again, I don't need every teeny tiny little detail. I understand project management. I understand accounting. I understand reporting, that kind of stuff. Just give me the broad strokes. Salaries and wages will be, this is where you put people who work for you, people who are in-house, who work for your company or your corporation. If they work for another entity and you contract with them, that belongs under contractual, which we'll come to in a few minutes. We go to the next. So this is fringe benefits. This one in my brain is one of the easier ones. You literally copy paste the position titles from under salaries and the number of people, number of years, all of that, and then tell me the costs that are included in. I don't care on fringe benefits, you can copy it down because it's generally the same thing. It's health insurance, it's FICA, it's workers' comp, it's whatever. But it's usually the same thing for everybody in your organization. So that's okay. It's okay, but it's okay. It's the same under fringe here. But this is what we need. It's about 30% of direct salaries and wages. It includes these costs. You go to the next, please. Oh, I do want to note, because I've seen this before on the fringe. You cannot charge fringe for people for whom we're not paying salaries, right? You can't say, well, I'm going to pay fringe for Diane, but she's not going to work on the project. We're not going to charge any of her time. It doesn't work that way. That makes auditors really jumpy. So please don't do that. If you want to charge fringe, charge some of their time too. Travel. Again, here's some detail. If you are not familiar with GSA rates, that's Government Services or General Services Administration, it's part of federal government. If you Google GSA rates, you will easily find them. They will come up on a website. You pick the state. It's very easy to use. Believe it or not, one federal government website is very easy to use. If you're going to, for travel, estimating travel costs, this is per state of Nebraska law. This is how we normally do things. Just tell me who's going to travel and why, and then estimate your costs. Help us find the math. That's one of the things we have to do. If you tell us it's going to be $3,000 to do this travel, tell us where to find those numbers. Where did that math come from? That's what you're doing here. On to the next, please. Equipment and property. Here's where we start getting a little challenging. There's a difference, and we will talk about this on another slide here. There's a difference between equipment and supplies. Equipment and property typically are items with a per unit cost of $5,000 or more and a useful life of 1 year or longer. Supplies are typically items with a per unit cost of less than $5,000 and or a useful life of less than 1 year. So in equipment and property, you only want items that are at least $5,000 and have per unit and have at least a 1 year useful life. If it doesn't fit those two, then put it in supplies. Bear in mind that as you submit your budgets, if we have more questions, we will come back to you. So don't panic. If it's, oh, I'm not sure where it fits, put it in here. We'll work it out. But this gives you an idea of some of the detail that we will need. Tell us what it is. Give us as much information as you can. We have to attach your budgets to the subgrants. That doesn't mean we can't amend them down the road, but we're going to get a lot of pushback if we start adding a bunch of equipment after the fact. So this needs to happen up front. Whatever equipment you're going to need, please put it in your budget now. Adding it later is going to be a lot harder. Give us fun things though, like model numbers. Tell us what it's worth. Bear in mind, on this slide, I made these up. So they aren't going to make sense. You're never going to be able to Google them and find them. And I am not an expert on telecommunications construction, so I may have words wrong here. So please forgive me for that. But this is the kind of information we need. Give me your model, tell me how it's going to work, and how you came up with that cost. Did you get a bunch of bids? Did you go and check out a bunch of websites and compare costs? Did you estimate based on your historical costs or buying the same kind of thing? That's fine. But right now, this will be just fine for equipment and property. Please go to the next. There is a rule under federal grants management rules, federal grants management for procurement. And so this is federal law and state law. We have to itemize all purchases over $5,000. And that includes equipment and contractors. You must select equipment and contractors over $5,000 using a formal procurement process, which I'm not going to talk about today because that's a longer conversation. We can talk about it later, though, however, and we will. Your contractors cannot be pre-selected. So if you have indicated in your budget, we've already chosen them, take that out. Please take that out because that's not okay. We have to go through a formal procurement process and we have to prove that we've done that. So that information can be added later as they're selected through the formal procurement process, but for right now, you can't do it yet. You're not allowed to do that quite yet. We're close though. Anything over $5,000. Please go to the next. Okay. Budget, supplies versus equipment. Supplies, again, unit costs less than $5,000 and useful life of less than 1 year. Equipment over that $5,000 and 1 year or longer. So shovels and I don't know what that thing is, a digger of some kind. Okay. Next, please. So here's a mock-up of, or an example of a supplies budget. And again, I may not have the words exactly correct here. So, but I do understand if you're gonna have general office supply, you can lump things together. You can tell me general office supplies at $1,000 a year over 5 years. I'm good with that. I understand general office supplies. I don't understand so much telecommunication supplies. So please spell that out just a little bit more. But tell me again how you estimated it. I understand fiber. If you're doing a fiber project, I understand you need fiber. I understand how that works. Estimated based on historical costs. That works great. I know what that means. Help us understand where those costs came from, where that basis came from, and what's included there. Now, this does not mean where you've said general office supplies that you are limited to just sticky notes, file folders, and highlighters. That's all office supplies. Those are examples. We get that. We go to the next. Contracts and subgrants. This is the other place where we're going to see procurement. Again, if it's more than $5,000, it needs to go through a formal procurement process, and it needs to be reflected here. So your contractors that have already been chosen, please, again, contractor TBD, we don't know who those are yet. We haven't locked those in yet. We can't yet. So you're going to use a formal procurement process to select to do these activities. This is the kind of information we need. We will also need copies of the contracts and subgrants that you issue. That doesn't mean we have to approve them necessarily. That means we just need copies of them for our records. But this is the kind of information that we are going to need about your contracts. Will you go to the next? Instruction. Okay, so there was this neat little place in one of the guidance documents that said you should spell this out in these terms. And that's where this little section of the budget came from. And this has caused more confusion. So you will see in the slides that I sent out to you individually, please take anything that's here and put it elsewhere in the budget. I've suggested where else it could go. This has just caused more confusion than it's worth. So we're taking this section out of the budget. We're just not going to fuss with it. We will move costs. Please and thank you. On to the next, please. Other direct costs. This is where you're going to put stuff you're not sure. You don't know where it goes, put it under other direct costs. We'll figure it out. Things like communication costs. If you're going to pay for cell phones for your key project staff, this is a good place to put that. Occupancy, so office space for your manager, again, good place for that. Your contingency costs can go here. Railroad permitting, railroad and other permitting costs can go here. Anything you're not sure, other is other, right? It's a catch-all. So please don't be shy about this. But again, tell us why is it part of the project? Why is it necessary to the project? How are you computing those costs, etc. On to the next, please. Indirect costs. Most of you do not have indirect costs. If you want to add them, then you need to do it now. It's going to be a lot easier now than it is later. If you have a negotiated indirect cost rate agreement, you must use it. You can't use a de minimis if you have a NICRA. If you do have a NICRA, you need to send it with us. Send it with your budget report. We have to have a copy of it before we can allow you to implement it. If you are charging indirect costs, you cannot charge a cost as both direct and indirect. So for example, if your occupancy on your building or your rent on your building, you can't charge it directly and indirectly. You can't say, well, it's part of my indirect cost, but we're also paying for it, 10% of the rent for 10% of because this is 10% of our budget or whatever. It doesn't work that way. We can only do one or the other. On to the next. Match. Everybody's favorite topic, including mine. In cash or in kind. Match must be unique per project. You can't use the same $20 as match for both multiple projects. These have to be costs that will be incurred during the project period, which starts with subgrant execution. So dark fiber that's already out there can't be used. That's how it's set up. I apologize. That's how it is, though. Costs have to be allowable and allocable. So if it's not something we could use federal money to pay for a cost, right? So the easy one is if somebody donates a case of whiskey to you, you can't use that as match because you couldn't pay for it with federal money, right? So make sure your costs are allowable and allocable, legitimate costs, and then you're going to have to track and justify cash and in-kind matching in the same way as you do other costs. You're going to have to tell us how you computed that, what is it based on, etc. On to the next. Here's an example of the kind of information we need about match. Typically, if it's from the subgrantee, it's cash match. You're covering costs with other cash instead of federal money, instead of grant money. If it's from project partners, it's typically in kind. So I've given you some examples here. Just tell us how you computed those dollars. What's it based on? There are documents out there that can help you value time. If you have people who volunteer for the project or anything like that, there's all kinds of ways to estimate those costs, ways to estimate the value of those donations. So if you need help with that, please let us know. Excuse me. On to the next. That's the one we were looking for. That is the last one. So
we do have a question in the chat too.
Okay.
So salaries and wages, fringe benefits are only required for budgets that are requesting BEAD funds for admin, correct?
Salaries and wages are only required if you're actually going to pay anybody with BEAD money. It doesn't matter what kind of work they're doing. It could be the construction work. It could whatever work that I don't know what all they might be doing.
Does that answer my question?
Maybe I need to understand more about admin. About what that means, what they're thinking.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, fabulous. Other questions? I know I went through a lot fast.
I will be posting these slides and the recording to our website under our town halls later, so you can keep an eye out there too.
And I will note for those to whom I have not yet sent your slides specific to your organization, I will do that. My goal is by the end of the day. I will also open it up to NVO team here. Is there anything I missed?
I just encourage everybody, if they have questions specific to their applications, just to reach out directly to our grants team.
Yeah, I've got a quick question.
Okay.
What's the amount we need to get for the letters of credit?
You need a ILOC for 25%. Subgrant, 25% of the subgrant. I think that's the right answer. I'm double checking that. Sorry, it's been a while since I thought about the ILOCs. There you go.
Thank you.
Not less than 25% of the subgrant amount. I apologize. Yes, that is correct.
Do you have a specific form that we need to use, or just attach the letter that we get from our bank?
There is not a specific form. There is a sample, I believe, out on our website for the ILOC letter. It's not required, but it is an option in case you want a template. There are more details in attachment 3 to the RFA. It spells out all the options. It can come from a bank or a credit union. You can do a performance bond. There's an alternative letter of credit percentage option. So I would encourage you to look at attachment 3 to the RFA.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? I'm entertained that you guys are taking it easy on me. I don't get a lot of easy, so thank you. It's been fun. I know we set the deadline for responses on the SES at Monday the 13th. You should have, as I said, the slides I sent out today. If you have questions on those or anything that we covered today, please do not hesitate to reach out. We are good to go. We are no longer under that can't talk to you thing. That piece of it's in the past. So please do let us know if you run into questions. Otherwise, if there aren't any more, I'm going to say thank you for your time, and I hope you all have a great rest of your Monday.
Thanks, Diane.